All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lion Bolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else and what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan today from Delaware, none other than Dustin Oldfather. Now, Dustin, it's an honor and a pleasure, my friend. I cannot wait to have this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, you're so very welcome. And I'm so grateful to be on the show. It's a great honor. Thank you, Greg.
Oh my gosh. And I can't wait for everybody to just dive into the series of questions with us and get to know you as a man, as a professional, and what you do every day and what you've done, for the real estate world and community. So Dustin, without further ado, I guess let's just dive into the first question, which is really just telling everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what your life path was to get to where you are today into real estate, kind of your background story. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I grew up in Crofton, Maryland, in Anne Arundel County, kind of close to the Chesapeake Bay, and spent some time out there with my dad, and worked. Maybe not at had a little bit of challenges as far as where we fit in that group, but our parents moved us to a place that was a place that we could grow. So we kind of took a step in as a family who was on the climb, and it gave us a great proving ground, lots of great people. And then personally, I had a love of baseball, really worked towards getting a baseball scholarship. I got a few offers, and then financially just didn't work out for me to go. And so spent a little time in the nuclear Navy, which was a lot of fun. Met some of the most amazing people in the world, some of the most amazing intellects. I used to think I was smart, and then I got around some of these guys, and what would take me 35 hours, they'd be done in 5. So I spent a lot of time. They call it in the Navy, they call it 35 TAC 5. So that means you had to study 5 hours a day on top of being in school 7 days a week. Means you're not as smart as everybody. So the nuclear engineering program, I loved it, and I had a lot of fun and met some great people. And then came home, was having migraines, and so I came home. Wasn't the easiest transition to come back and move back into my family's house for a little bit. And then just kind of found my wings, went back to school, took the GI Bill that I had, and then kind of focused on those on my education. And so I went to the community college and then went to University of Maryland, and focused on a genetics curriculum. Before my final year, I came out to the beach to say goodbye. I had a great personal friend who I met that was also from the Navy, but outside of there. And coincidentally, he passed away. So he was, 38 years old, and just out of the blue, just, wow. He got a virus, which was kind of unprecedented. And as a corpsman, he had a macabre sense of humor. He knew he was going to go, and he told the doctors they weren't going to be able to figure it out. And they weren't. But we had spent so many great summers here in Delaware and Dewey Beach. So we would come down, and his ex-wife had a beach house, and that was completely new to me. The idea that you could go to a place, you could pay for a room for the night. This was VRBO before VRBO was VRBO, right? This is basically you're like, I want to rent this 4x8 a section of carpet, so that you can be next to all the young and beautiful singles and be at the beach.
Wow.
And so we spent some great summers here, and and to honor him and to also say goodbye. Well, I was at the University of Maryland. I had a good summer, and my uncle worked here in the area, and so he helped me find a summer job. And that's the summer that my wife rode by me on a bicycle on 2nd Street. And so it was one of those. She was completely out of my league, but gratefully she needed a green card. And I kid, but over time we decided as friends to get married, and then after we decided to get married, we fell in love. So we did it all backwards, and so sometimes I'd say you might as well marry a stranger. You got just as much chance of it working out.
Wow.
Now we've been together for almost 20 years. We've got 2 beautiful kids. We're thinking about another one. And so that's a little bit of just a life path. About 2005, we were both working in the area, just in seasonal work, managing restaurants, and just saw this kind of what's happening right now, this unprecedented, looking around and seeing everybody was making lots and lots of money. And, we're seasonal workers, so we weren't making much.
Sure.
And seeing this huge opportunity for income for, when you're kind of serving somebody, you get a sense, I think, hey, maybe I'm as smart as this person, or maybe I have as much ambition and drive. And so we both took that step into real estate. And then, of course, that was 2005. So we doggy paddled right into the downturn. Everybody else was making big money. We got licensed, spent all of our savings. The saving grace in that, though, is that going through that downturn in 2008 or 2005 to 2008, as it was all declining, right? And we were focused on getting listings, and then expenses are still high on listings, and then you can't sell the listings because the market's falling out from underneath of you. And that time will come again, but not right now. But in that, we recognized we had to do it a different way. And then that's when we embraced the online consumer. And boy, there's so many things we would do differently going back if we knew now what we, would have known then. And it was, it gave us the inside track on treating real estate like a scalable business. We developed a team before the team was even not the team wasn't a concept, but it wasn't a prevalent concept in the real estate space.
Sure.
And so by that push and the number of inquiries that we were making, basically pay-per-click and Google, which was kind of unprecedented at the time. And then you have this old guard of agents and people that are used to a traditional way of doing business. And so we did it a little bit differently, and that gave us a great inside track. And so, moving forward with, looking at the consumer journey online, how do you make the connections, developing scripts, sales scripts, and not scripts to be, manipulative, but scripts to enhance the experience with the client. Sure. We're Zillow Flex partners right now, and sometimes we've had some frustrations with, we're shifting the script, but when you look at the output, which is that when you follow a set series of questions that match what most consumers are looking for that buyer profile, they have a lot better experience. Yeah. And so, the cadence of follow-up, making sure that you're giving great information, and then the inside sales model, developing a call center. And now the call center has multiple outputs, because real estate opportunity or real estate consumer is also a mortgage consumer for us, is also an insurance consumer for us. And so, potential for property management. And so there's many opportunities off of the spokes of this wheel that we've kind of grown into over the years. But that initial move into the online or the consumer really changed the complete trajectory of our careers.
Dustin, when you mentioned the path, and again, what got you to where you're at today, I mean, it's absolutely incredible seeing that and hearing it. I picked up on a few things that hopefully the audience also did as well. When you're going through the process of being kind of first to market with certain aspects of team and direct to consumer, but before these things were prevalent into the industry, obviously that's a wonderful opportunity. It's a chance, it's a risk. But obviously you've really invested your time and your value and your money and thought process into the right spaces, and look at the growth and success that's gone through, but not just a success on a financial or number standpoint, but the communities that you serve and the families that you help and guide through this process is absolutely incredible. But I do know that you're involved in several different spokes of the wheel, as you mentioned. And to me, the thought process is more of like a one-stop shop or a very smooth transition for the consumer. But I would love for people to know what your thought process was with mortgage and insurance on top of real estate. I would love just kind of, I guess, your path into what made you make those decisions. So I think it's brilliant.
Sorry about that, Greg. Our connection was unstable. So as far as the one-stop shop concept, the statistics say that 50% of the consumers, if all things are equal, will prefer to have a one-stop shop. And so there's an economy of efficiency for the consumer and that consumer experience. And so we were generating a lot of buyer activity and representing a lot of buyers. And, at that time, MSAs were prevalent and kind of the go-to. The more we looked at that, and then with the pressure from the CFPB, we really, felt uncomfortable with that. And then the relationship with the lenders, which is, hey, no, you need to push me loans or else I'm not going to pay you. And then it's this weird, like forced relationship with your agents, like, oh, we got to use this guy. And I never want to be, I always want service to dictate the paths that we take. And so the more we looked at it, we explored some of the verticals. I worked with one of my coaches and mentors, and so it was years ago. And I said, hey man, I'm looking at my exit strategy. I'm almost 50 now, but this is probably going back, 7, 8, 10 years. Wow. And at that time we were a high profile team, but we didn't have a great exit strategy. And he said, okay, well, we should be looking at these verticals. And then so I looked at the verticals, mortgage, insurance, title, property management, and construction, and then just the economics of it. And then what we had to offer, we're buyer heavy, so 75% buyers. It made sense to look at the mortgage piece first. And the mortgage piece is very efficient relative to, certainly from a profit perspective now, compared to the commission compression that's going on, one, in the marketplace, and then two, with with the relationships with the agents. Yeah. But the more we looked at that was a natural fit. That business needs an operator. My wife's an operator and analytical, and we have another talented operations director. Without an operator, that's not something that can go, because there's lots of boxes to check, and there's lots of things that you got to take care of. Looking at the next step, which is, okay, great, we've improved the communication. That was one of the reasons we did it, is the experience we were having in the marketplace with lenders was choppy. Sometimes they disappear on you, they ghost your client. You're supposed to close on a Friday afternoon, and you call and they're not there. I mean, there was, and that's just the marketplace. We always work with really good people, but when somebody brings in, works with a credit union or something that's out of the area, and they're trying to squeeze a deal through another place, they don't know about how things work. We recognize that we could have more control of the experience between the consumer and the lender. And it also is a little more comfortable, because a financial conversation is a sensitive conversation. Right. Very strange to get on the phone and just have an open dialogue about all of your finances and all of the things that have happened in your life, as far as your financial history goes, with a complete stranger. Well said. So making sure that connection is made and trying to get people integrated early. So we kind of treat that opportunity as special from every business that we have. So every prospect or inquiry that we get, we want to give them service in all of those components and make sure they get what they need, rather than having to go hunt around, especially if those people are coming in from out of the area. Love that. So yeah, and so to the next step, which was insurance, and insurance is a lower margin business, but it also has a compounding effect, which is 90% of those policies renew every year. And so combination, which is, hey, we have a great opportunity to improve the service experience, and so we'll quote our listings on insurance. So when somebody's buying it, they at least have a ballpark for what it's going to be. Is it going to need flood? How much is that going to be? And so that's helping on that side for selling listings. And then for our buyer clients, let's all be, candid. Like, how many people really get excited about insurance? There's not a lot of us, right? Right. It's the last thing in the real estate sales process, right? And so you're like, oh yeah, I need that, right? Like, who do I talk to? And so we recognized that we could close that gap as well. And so integrating the three companies, in the consumer journey, to me, gave us more control, and we're able to deliver a more consistent service experience. And we're clearly in the experience economy now, where how much longer we as humans will be to be squeezed by the blockchain is another question. Sure. However, in the meantime, the tech-assisted agent is able to do more, to give better service, and to continue to enhance the consumer journey, by finding the friction points and trying to get them out of the way.
Gosh, but Dustin, when you were explaining that thought process and really putting it together, it's ultimately the consumer's perspective and how smooth and simplistic it can be. And I think that there's huge amounts of, just brain power that went into putting those pieces together. And obviously it works. The actions kind of speak louder than words, and the success that you and the team and the different, spokes of your business that way, it's just absolutely incredible. And so marketplaces, specifically Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, am I missing some insight there as far as where you guys really, get involved, your areas, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we really started here on the coast of Delaware.
Okay.
And we were just doing the best we could to be really good agents, focused on listings and trying to learn what our value was and getting connected to, to expireds and withdrawals, kind of doing the tougher work in the beginning. We didn't know any better, so we had a good broker that put us on the path. And then, as our reach has continued to grow, we've had more opportunity to then serve additional markets, and so we're now working, on Maryland proper, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore, Montgomery County, and then into Ocean City, which was a natural connection to the south of us, and then Wilmington is a market where there's synergies as well between, people who have a beach house here on the coast, and then they have a home in Wilmington. And so looking at kind of following where the consumers were and where we could add value, we continued to focus on that.
I absolutely love that. And again, you're just ultimately setting that footprint or that benchmark for everybody to really look at and to see, what you can do from a business standpoint and looking at it from a different perspective to really take it to those highest levels. And I love it, Dustin. I know your team is incredible. You surround yourself with phenomenal people, and that's really, it's the sum of all parts that gets it done. And you're living proof of that, which I absolutely love to share and for everybody out there to experience it. This is the real deal. This is what you want to look at if you're really trying to take your business up to that spot. And now, Dustin, I want to switch to the next question, which everybody's always excited about, really just learning from the best and brightest about how to grow and change their business and really move that needle. Now, you had mentioned, again, earlier on, the team model and mentality before there really was a big thing with teams and or pay-per-click and getting direct to consumer and really understanding their behavior. So you can answer this question however you want, because you have so many different ways of perspective. You already shared so much great stuff, but if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose a few things, one or two things that you added to it, that you really saw the needle move, you really saw growth, any advice that you give anybody watching or listening?
Yeah, there's lots of places that you would look. From a historical perspective, as we were growing and starting to scale, we were at a great mastermind session with the head coach, Tom Ferry. And,
Cool.
And Tom, wrote on the board these 5 circles. We had just rounded out our team. We had, an ISA, and we had a listing coordinator, and we had, a client success director, and we had those pieces in place. And it was a marketing specialist, and it was a sales manager, and they were all things that were the next level in the scope of growth. The biggest levers that you'll experience are the people that you find. When you find somebody that matches your passion, and leadership is a tricky thing. There's no one profile for a leader. Jobs is historically grumpy, but obviously did some amazing things, right? Gates is another type of leader. There's so many different styles. Mark Cuban, very different flavors. Yeah. What I would tell anyone is to embrace your vision and your personality and your purpose. And that sounds really fluffy and a little corny.
Nope.
But when you do that, when you just look in the mirror and you're self-aware and you're like, okay, I'm a driver. I only want a bunch of, hunter killers in my office, and I don't want anybody who's a relator. I just want to go out and kill it and have, work with 3 people, and we're all going to make $1 million a year. And that's what we're going to do. That's one style. My style is a little different. I like to really build an inclusive group. It's part of why we live on the coast. There's diversity in styles and personalities and lifestyles. And for me, I always wanted to create a safe place where people were excited about taking care of, and this sounds corny too, but it's true, really taking care of people that are willing to trust us with this big decision. Wow. For me to move from, kind of just from moving from being very blue collar into the white collar world, for people to trust us with, multi-million-dollar properties. To me, I put a lot of weight in that. I really respect it. And I feel the same way about every property. Sometimes there's a little agents will go like, oh, well, that was a low price point. I'm like, we love every opportunity.
Wow.
We can't work for free. Like there are some breakpoints on things, but
Sure.
some of the most satisfying transactions you do are for, are at the entry level for people when they're just getting started, or when they've been through a transition, or God forbid, a divorce, and then people are trying to reestablish their lives. It's a great honor, and it's something we don't take lightly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you mentioned that though, Dustin, to me, I know it's ringing through for everybody who's watching or listening, is understanding yourself first and foremost, and your style, and surrounding yourself with people who understand that and want to amplify it. And, really look at it for the greater good is a huge proponent. And furthermore, I think adding to that for myself, that goes for any size or any level. I mean, not everybody wants to be $1 billion, $100 million producer, right? I get that. And I think you look at it from the standpoint of who you are and your community that you serve, and what are your individual goals, and setting the path. I mean, you had mentioned, Tom, and I think that looking at it for kind of guilty by association, surrounding yourself with great people, that's internally, externally, I think it all comes into it, and it raises everybody's standards and bar. And I think that that's big takeaways on top of it too, is, really just having that network of people that you can, have those deep conversations and honest truths, and, setting that perspective for each other, I think is great. It's kind of that accountability buddy, and in any form or fashion, whether it's somebody that's on the team or outside of it, that's a transplant sort of thing. But I love that, Dustin. And from the perspective of your thoughts, anything else that you want to add to that at all? I mean, you shared so much great stuff. I don't want to cut that short. So is there anything else you want to talk about that way, growth, scale, any advice?
Yeah, if you're really at the beginning of your career, adding leverage, usually traditionally people will say hire an admin, and then kind of go down that path where you offload marketing and you offload the contract work and then the contract to closing. Earlier than that, it's very clear to me that adding an inside sales assistant is more important. Because if you have somebody who's working for 10, 20, 30, 40 hours trying to get you more clients, more appointments, the growth and the expansion of the rewards, per transaction goes up dramatically. And so for each additional transaction, it's not a bonus, it's a set fee per each one. So you move from 2 to 3 units, you've got a 35% increase in income. And that offset also gives you more time to give great service and to not try to do so much. I can't imagine being an individual agent at this point, to try to juggle all the things that are necessary between marketing, lead generation, follow-up, nurture, contract to closing, inspections. Like, these are really specialized activities. And I think that's what was forced, and what we saw coming is, in a good way, the industrialization of real estate again is to put back to that industrial model, which is, hey, let's find specialists for each one of these parts of the business. And that would be my other key point for people to consider.
Okay.
When you have a clear map of what you want it to look like, which is, hey, we're going to have a listing director, a marketing director, client success director, sales manager. When you're clear that you have those things, start looking for all of them right away. And so many times people get focused on the linear next hire, when you may have an amazing marketing talent that is available to you and would match on brand. You don't have to do it in the order that it's mapped. You have to basically fill in all the boxes in the best way. Find all the best people to be in those roles. And if you find a talented sales manager out of the gate, they're going to be a huge lever. Versus, they're going to have a bigger impact financially in most cases than a marketer. Although a great marketer also has its own benefits and some synergy and some halo effects from everything that you do. So philosophically, what I've shared with people is, go ahead, post all the jobs. Don't just post the one. And then, if you're not getting good people or people that match what you're looking for, then you just raise the compensation. And you do that. You also can offer two different levels of comp. For say it's a sales manager role, where a traditional broker role would be, X, but a star like regional manager would be, 2X. Then run both of those ads. And if you get a star manager, they may come in and bring in, a cadre of agents, and then you're already kind of ahead of the game.
Wow.
There are these force multipliers that are available to us. To me, they're only available through finding great people. And if you only focus on one channel, that's the only thing you're going to see. We worked for probably 2 years before we found our marketing director, who's a really special talent, videographer, writes amazing copy, clever, funny, great perspective, just a phenomenal editor.
Love it.
But I knew that role was so important. I advertised for it for a long time, and nobody was coming in. No one was coming in. And then, he kind of showed up and was just perfect. And we're still friends to this day. In fact, we went into business together. We started a marketing company. And so I just support him on that, basically from the work that we did together. So finding great people is critical. But I would say don't be chained to necessarily finding them in a specific order. Wow. If you find great people that match your vision and they can move forward and they can enhance the consumer experience and the economics work, your risk is really low when you hire somebody, because everyone has an off ramp, in general, in our experience, people they're going to take the off ramp if they just don't match on culture. If we haven't, for some reason, you just didn't know it wasn't going to work. And that's part of life. But over time, you build a culture and you find the right people, and you want a group of people that are synergistic, in my opinion, as opposed to just finding, a gear for a part of the machine. You want people that have different talents, and then you want to shade people into roles that match their talents. And not everybody, like somebody might have some really good parts of their marketing, but they're maybe not good at the digital part, or they might be, like we have a copywriter, and then we have a social media, content writer, and then we have different people for distribution, and they're different talents, right? But you ask the copywriter to go write a Facebook ad, and it's going to come off weird, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But copy's still important, right? You still need words, and you need images. And so we've always invested in that and had an in-house architectural photographer.
Love that.
And then you want to let, those artists really work together. So you create this a little different animal, but taking a look at what it is you want to build. And as you can build it very lean. You can drive all of these support positions to one or two producers. And, there are people with extraordinary incomes. Right. Personally, I recognized, several years ago, I had an appendectomy. And at that point, I'd never had any surgeries. Wow. And so getting appendicitis and then looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, if someone hadn't told me, I would have ignored it, right? Because it subsides and then it can come back and kill you. Wow. And so when I realized how, my fragility, which I'd never acknowledged before, it occurred to me that what I was leaving behind as a producer and somebody who was the only one who could, not the only one, but the primary profit center for the business, I recognized that wasn't going to be the best thing for my family. And so at that point, we really, and when you're growing an organization, it's a one step forward, one step back, because you increase the production, you increase the efficiency, and then you make a hire, and then it absorbs all the profit that goes along with that, right? So it's this constant doubling down. But deciding to find great people and to focus on that, it's just made it joyful. We're not bitter about the business. We love what we do, and we want to do it for a long time. And, without having, the excitement of adding the mortgage and excitement of the insurance company, and then the synergy that's happening behind them. And then seeing this new group of agents that are really, tech adjusted, and then utilizing technology to work with the consumer. I mean, we have, I say this with great respect, but we have agents in their, in their 60s that are doing video tours and have didn't think about it at all. I'm doing video text scripts. And you would think that not necessarily the technology, maybe they're a little bit out of that technology loop, right? Sure. It's been amazing to see people grow and to still find a great income. We had have a young man who was working in retail, and now he's moved on. He's got 3 transactions this month. He's going to make more than he's ever ever probably imagine that he would make, probably quadrupled his income, at least on a monthly level.
Unreal.
And he's really excited and doing great work. And so you also don't want to judge too much. You want to be very careful with your assumptions about people, because sometimes it's the person that you least expect that's the one who's going to be, who's going to be the star of the show.
Oh my gosh, Dustin, the nuggets that you were dropping down, the gems, absolutely incredible. I mean, the leadership and just opening your mind to the audience was incredible, and the processes and everything that's associated around people, and really having those tasks. Something that stood out to me, I see a couple different pictures. One, just being a race enthusiast and being on the track, we're taught to open our periphery and not to look into a small segment. So we open our periphery wide and we look down far. And when you had mentioned, when you're looking at it from a standpoint of, you have certain amount of people or processes that you're bringing on, don't be stuck to that order. Is be open your eyes and look further down to say, if you got the right person, the right system at the right time, it might not be in the order you initially envisioned, but eventually all that's going to come together to form that piece of the puzzle. I love that. You said that beautifully. I just wanted to make sure that everybody heard that. So pause it, rewind it. That alone is just incredible advice. And again, what I love about it, Dustin, is you've done this, you've been there, you've done that, you bought the t-shirt, you're learning every day, you're growing every day, and that's why I get so excited about meeting incredible people like you and sharing your story and your message with the audience out here. It's just, there's just so much for everybody to learn. And I mean, I know we could go on and on. That was just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. I know that there's so much more. I want to encourage everybody who's watching or listening, please follow Dustin and the team on Instagram, on Facebook. So much knowledge, so much basis. I'll have links in the comments down below. Dustin, I wanted to bring up one last thing, and selfishly, I wanted to bring this up to a fellow podcaster because I know that so many people that are tuning in, they love podcasts and love great people. Obviously, you're amongst the best of the best. So, would you mind sharing a little bit about your show and kind of what it's about and that sort of thing? Because I would encourage everybody to get involved with it, subscribe and tune in. So, would you mind sharing that?
Thank you for that. First of all, very, very generous comments. Thank you for that. It's an honor, and I'm really grateful. And so, with the, with the podcast, that was, uncomfortable. It's like doing webinars. It's like everything. It's like doing video for the first time. Yeah. And so for my show, it was interesting. What I have a coach who's got a tremendous following on their podcast, and actually multiple podcasts. Wow. And, he asked me, well, what do you want to do with it? Like, what do you want to sell? And I was like, I don't want to sell anything. And he was like, okay, well, and I wanted to make it about, about the stories of the people that were here, to highlight, one of our callings is to advance charities through our reach and our exposure. I see charities, but at good causes, right? So last week, we interviewed, the Humane Society and the SPCA to hear what was going on, where people can contribute, where they can get involved. And so the same way that, you and I are talking, it's interesting to hear the stories from other people and what's special about them. I think that's part of what makes us human. And so sharing some of these really, and so many dynamic stories was really what we decided to do. And so, it's the Dustin Oldfather Show. We did one with Dr. Tam, who's the CEO of BB Medical, who's talking about the COVID vaccine. This was a while back. Unreal. But we want to provide information. I mean, we're not a newscast or anything, but we want to get relevant and local and be able to share the stories that really do matter and that people might find interesting.
Oh gosh, Dustin, I love it. And I'm going to have links in the comments down below. So anybody who's watching or listening, please subscribe, tune in. There's just so much knowledge. If you want more of this man in your life, this is one way to do it. So, but there's so many things. But Dustin, I can't thank you enough again, just for taking the time. It was an honor and pleasure, my friend. I really appreciate you.
I feel the same way. Thank you so much, Greg.
And I do need to make this official, and I do every episode. You are dubbed an official real estate titan. That is a badge that you can wear with honor forever. No one can ever take that away. That is yours, my friend. But I appreciate you. I really, really do. And everybody, I thank you and appreciate you as always, your time and attention, your love and support. If you like what we're doing here with Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do at this point. I do need to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lionbolt Media. If you are in the real estate industry and you're looking to grow and scale in a technical basis with digital marketing and advertising, they have a free mini course that goes over so many aspects of growing and scaling your digital business, from automation to leverage points, from content creation to funnel building, you name it, they've got it in there. So take a look at the link below. But we are live every Tuesday afternoon here on Real Estate Titans, different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Dustin.